But first, details came out today about the charges against Jeffrey Morris and his company, Roxby Development. The U.S. Attorney and a crew of federal investigators held a news conference at the federal building this afternoon. Thank you for joining us for 7 News at 6. I'm Stephen Moore. They say that the 36-year-old Roxby of Wheeling is now indicted on 28 counts, including 18 counts of wire fraud and 10 counts of failure to pay taxes. They say that he fleeced $7 million from 20 investors, both local and out of town, and deliberately lied to everyone from his workers to his investors. Our DK Wright covered the news conference and has the details.
There were suspicions about Jeffrey Morris and Roxby Development.
He had a personal assistant, we learned. He had a chef. I mean, there were a lot of expenses that left some people scratching their head as to how a startup like this could afford to pay for those kinds of extravagant things.
There were bills and employees not being paid.
Many people were hurt by Jeffrey Morris. We have people who simply didn't get their paychecks.
Investigations were ongoing until authorities learned something recently that prompted more immediate action.
We learned that he might be leaving the United States, and so he was arrested. He had to surrender his passport, and conditions were put into place by Judge Mazzone restricting his travel.
Morris allegedly used investors' money to pay off credit cards or other pressing debts.
And he shared spreadsheets. He would give those to investors to show progress that had been made. But these spreadsheets not only had inflated figures, those spreadsheets were completely fictitious.
He allegedly tricked out-of-town investors with an elaborate tour of the Scottish Rite Cathedral.
And so he would take the investor to the first floor and show a photographer and indicate that that photographer perhaps was renting a studio, and go to the next floor and show a chef, and that chef was supposedly renting the space, and then go to another floor and show a contractor who was purportedly renting that space.
But reportedly, none of it was true. Now Morris is free on bond but must stay in northern West Virginia. He has lost 2 of the properties to foreclosure, the McClure Hotel and the Scottish Rite. He still owns the Mount Carmel Monastery and may or may not be living there. His trial is set for November 14th. DK Wright for 7 News in Wheeling, working for you.
Thank you, DK. The government is seeking a $5 million monetary judgment against Morris for the victims. He could face a maximum of 20 years in prison on each of the 18 wire fraud counts and